The giant alien ship appeared near Jupiter without warning. Captain Jake Harrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming through the new horizon. His crew rushed to their stations as the massive vessel drifted closer. To their small exploration ship, Jake set down his cup and walked to the main screen. The alien ship was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. It looked like a silver crystal with smooth curves and no visible weapons, but Jake knew that meant nothing. Something that big could crush them just by moving too fast. Amy Rodriguez ran up to him, her scanner in her hands. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though she had never actually seen any aliens before today. Her face was pale, but her eyes were bright with excitement. "Captain, I'm reading life signs," she said. "Lots of them, and they're trying to talk to us." The main screen flickered and changed. A face appeared that made several crew members step backward. The creature looked like a giant lizard with 4 eyes and skin that changed colors. When it spoke, the computer translated its words into English. "Human vessel, this is Commander Zeth Kalar of the Galactic Council ship Harmony's Edge. You will stop your engines and prepare for inspection." Jake straightened his uniform and moved closer to the screen. "This is Captain Jake Harrison of the YE. Human ship New Horizon. Welcome to our solar system. We're happy to meet you." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that somehow looked surprised. "You claim ownership of this system?" "Well, yes," Jake said. "Earth is our home planet. We've been exploring out here for decades." Commander Zeth Kalar made a sound that the computer couldn't translate. Behind him, other aliens moved around what looked like a control room. They all seemed excited about something. "Human Captain, we must scan your species and your world. The Galactic Council has rules about new civilizations," Jake nodded. "That sounds reasonable. Can you tell us about this Galactic Council?" "We are the governing body for all peaceful species in this part of space. We keep dangerous worlds and creatures away from civilized society." Amy stepped forward. "Dangerous? Sir, humans are very peaceful. We've had some wars in our past, but we've learned to work together now." The alien commander's skin turned a dark red color. "You survive on a Class 9 death world. This makes you dangerous by definition." "A what?" Jake asked. "Your planet has weather that kills, animals that hunt thinking beings, diseases that destroy entire populations, and radiation levels that would end most species. Only the most violent creatures can live in such a place." Amy laughed, which made all the aliens on the screen freeze. "Earth isn't that bad. Sure, we get some storms and wild animals, but humans have learned how to deal with them. We build shelters and medicine and tools." "You fight your own planet every day just to stay alive," another alien said from behind the commander. This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. "Our scanners show that you can survive in environments that would instantly kill our people." Jake was starting to feel worried. These aliens seemed afraid of humans, which didn't make sense. "Look, we don't want to hurt anyone. We just want to learn about the galaxy and maybe make some friends." Commander Zeth Kalar's skin turned an even darker red. "Our medical scanners show that your bodies contain weapons." "Weapons?" Amy asked. "What do you mean?" "Your blood carries disease-fighting cells that attack invaders. Your bones are dense enough to be used as clubs. Your muscles can generate enough force to break through metal barriers. Your brain can function even when your body is severely damaged." Jake stared at the screen. "Those aren't weapons. That's just how human bodies work. We need strong bones because we live in gravity. We need good immune systems because of germs. We need to be tough because our world can be dangerous. Sometimes." "Exactly," the floating jellyfish alien said. "You have evolved to be living weapons. This makes you a threat to all peaceful species." "That's not true," Amy said, her voice getting louder. "Humans are explorers and builders. We make art and music. We help each other when there's trouble. Yes, we're strong, but we use that strength to protect people, not hurt them," the aliens whispered among themselves in their own language. Finally, Commander Zeth Kalar spoke again. "The Galactic Council has rules about Death World species. You must be contained until we can properly evaluate the threat you represent." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. "Contained? What does that mean?" Your species will not be allowed to leave this solar system until we determine if you can safely interact with civilized worlds. Now wait just a minute, Jake said, stepping closer to the screen. You can't just show up here and tell us we're prisoners in our own home. We are not imprisoning you, the commander said. We are protecting the galaxy from a potentially dangerous species. Amy moved next to Jake. We object to this classification. Humans have a right to explore space and meet other species. We're not dangerous just because we come from a tough planet. Your objection is noted, Commander Zethkalar said, but the decision has been made. A full evaluation committee will arrive within 30 standard cycles. Until then, any human vessel that attempts to leave the system will be turned back. You don't understand, Jake said. Humans don't like being told they can't do something. It makes us want to do it even more. The alien commander's skin turned black. This aggressive response proves our point. A peaceful species would accept protective containment. A free species objects when someone tries to lock them up without cause, Jake replied. The screen went dark. Outside the window, the huge alien ship slowly moved away from them. Jake and Amy stood in silence for a moment, watching it go. Captain, Amy said quietly, I think we just made them more scared of us. Jake nodded. Probably, but they needed to hear that humans don't accept being caged without a fight. He turned to his crew. Set course for Earth. We need to tell everyone what just happened. As the New Horizon turned toward home, Jake wondered what would happen when the Alien Evaluation Committee arrived. If they thought humans were dangerous now, wait until they saw how humans really reacted when someone tried to contain them. The first diplomatic meeting between humans and aliens was over. It had not gone well. 3 weeks after Jake Harrison's ship returned to Earth, the skies above the planet filled with alien vessels. 12 different ships hung in space like floating cities, each one representing a different species in the Galactic Council. The largest ship glowed with soft blue light and seemed to be made of pure energy. President Helen Carter stood in the emergency meeting room, deep under Washington. Around the table sat the most important leaders from every nation on Earth. The room buzzed with nervous energy as people spoke in dozens of languages, all trying to understand what was happening. Ladies and gentlemen, President Carter said, and the room fell quiet. The aliens have sent us a message. They want to conduct a full evaluation of our species. They're calling it a threat assessment. General Patricia Mills, the chairman of VAO, the Joint Chiefs, leaned forward. What kind of evaluation? Dr. Ben Clark, a former Marine who had become a diplomat, read from his tablet. They want to study our history, our biology, our culture, and our military capabilities. They've given us a list of requirements. Requirements? Asked the French president. Ben nodded. They want access to our libraries, our museums, our hospitals, and our military bases. They also want to interview hundreds of people from different jobs and backgrounds. President Carter rubbed her forehead. Dr. Clark, I'm putting you in charge of our response team. Choose whoever you need. Ben stood up. I'll need a linguist who can help us communicate better. Professor Lisa Stone from Harvard speaks 15 languages and understands how different cultures think. Done, the president said. I also need someone who understands military strategy. Colonel Ryan Bell has experience with international negotiations. He's yours. And we need someone who can explain human culture to beings who have never seen anything like us. Dr. Kate Morgan is an anthropologist who specializes in explaining how societies work. President Carter nodded. Anything else? Time, Ben said, and patience. If these aliens are as scared of us as Captain Harrison reported, this won't be easy. 2 days later, the alien evaluation team landed in New York City. The leader was, unlike anything humans had ever imagined, High Evaluator. Quinn Tessara looked like a beautiful woman made of starlight. She floated 6 inches off the ground and spoke without moving her mouth. We begin evaluation of the human Deathworld species, her voice said inside everyone's head. Your cooperation is required for accurate assessment. Ben Clark stepped forward with his team. Lisa Stone carried translation equipment, even though it might not be needed. Ryan Bell wore his dress uniform and kept his face calm. Kate Morgan held a tablet full of information about human culture. "Hi, Evaluator," Ben said with a slight bow. "We welcome you to Earth. We hope this evaluation will show you that humans are not a threat to galactic peace." Quintessara's light flickered in what might have been amusement. "Your hope is noted. We begin with historical analysis. The aliens spent the first week studying human history. They read about wars and diseases and natural disasters. They learned about the Black Death that killed millions of people in Europe. They studied the ice ages that humans somehow survived. They read about earthquakes and volcanoes and hurricanes that destroyed entire cities. Each new piece of information made the aliens more worried. Your species has survived extinction events that ended other civilizations," said Vex Moran, a six-legged creature that looked like a giant spider made of metal. "This proves unnatural resilience," Kate Morgan tried to explain. "Humans are good at adapting to change. When something bad happens, we learn from it and find ways to survive better next time." "You fight your own planet and win," said another alien that looked like a walking tree. "This level of aggression is concerning." The second week was worse. The aliens discovered that humans voluntarily put themselves in danger for fun. They learned about mountain climbing and deep sea diving and car racing. They found out about extreme sports where people jumped off cliffs and rode giant waves. Lisa Stone attempted to translate the concept of recreation. "Many species enjoy challenges," she explained to the floating starlight being. "Humans like to test themselves against difficult situations." "You seek out mortal danger for entertainment," Quintessara replied. "This confirms our fears about your violent nature." The breaking point came during the third week when the aliens observed a hospital. Dr. Sam Foster was performing emergency surgery on a construction worker who had been injured in an accident. The man's leg was badly broken, and Dr. Foster had to operate immediately. The alien observers watched in horror as the doctor cut into the patient's skin and began working on the broken bones. Several aliens had to leave the room. Others made sounds of distress that the translators couldn't handle. "This is barbaric," whispered Zilnath, a creature that looked like a floating cloud of gas. "You deliberately wound each other." Dr. Foster looked up from his work, confused. "I'm fixing his leg. Without surgery, he might never walk properly again." "You cut into living flesh," said Vexmora. "No civilized species tolerates such violence." Kate Morgan stepped forward. "It's not violence, it's healing. Dr. Foster is saving this man's leg and probably his life. Your bodies are so resistant to damage that you can survive being cut open," Quintessara said. "This proves you are too dangerous for normal space." Ben Clark felt his patience running out. "Hi, Evaluator. With respect, you're misunderstanding everything you see. Yes, humans are tough. Yes, we can survive in difficult conditions. But that doesn't make us violent or dangerous to other species." "Evidence suggests otherwise," the Starlight being replied. "Your species shows classic Deathworld adaptations, enhanced physical capabilities, resistance to environmental hazards, aggressive problem-solving methods, and casual acceptance of physical trauma." Colonel Bell stepped up next to Ben. "Those aren't weapons or threats, they're survival tools that we developed because Earth can be a challenging place to live." "Exactly our point," said the tree-like alien. "Only the most dangerous species could evolve such capabilities." The evaluation team spent that evening discussing their findings in the alien language. Ben and his team could hear them through the walls, even though they couldn't understand the words. The sounds were not encouraging. The next morning, Quintessara announced the preliminary decision. "Based on current evidence, humanity represents a significant threat to galactic civilization. We recommend immediate implementation of containment protocols." Ben Clark stepped forward, his jaw set in determination. "High Evaluator, humanity formally objects to this classification. We request the right to present our case to the full Galactic Council." "Your objection is noted," Quintessara said. "However, the safety of thousands of peaceful species must come before the desires of one dangerous world." "Then you don't understand humans at all," Ben replied quietly. Because the one thing we're really dangerous to is anyone who tries to cage us without cause. The alien evaluation team left Earth that afternoon. Behind them, they left a world full of humans who had just learned that someone wanted to lock them away from the stars. Ben Clark watched their ships disappear into space and knew that the real fight was just beginning. 1 month after the alien evaluation team left Earth, humanity woke up to find themselves trapped. The Galactic Council had built a wall around the entire solar system, using machines that floated in space like deadly metal flowers. Each machine was the size of a city and covered with weapons that could destroy any ship that tried to pass. Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the nearest barrier station. It hung in space beyond Mars, its red warning lights blinking slowly. The machine had been there for 3 days, and Jake was getting tired of looking at it. "Tony, what do you think?" Jake asked his chief engineer. Tony Martinez wiped grease off his hands and shook his head. "It's big, Captain. Really big. And those weapons could turn us into space dust before we got within 1,000,000 miles. But?" Jake could hear something in Tony's voice. "But whoever built it thinks in straight lines. Look at how it's positioned. It's designed to stop ships that follow normal space routes and use normal engines." Jake smiled for the first time in weeks. "And we're not normal, are we?" Tony grinned back. "Sir, humans stopped being normal the day we decided to strap rockets to metal cans and shoot ourselves at the moon." Down on Earth, Dr. Ben Clark was having a very different kind of meeting. The newly formed Human Rights Coalition had taken over an entire building in Geneva. The main conference room was packed with people from every nation and every walk of life. Monica Torres, a lawyer who had spent her career fighting for civil rights, stood at the front of the room. She was small and quiet, but when she spoke, everyone listened. "The Galactic Council has imprisoned our entire species," she said. "They've done this without a trial, without evidence of any crime, and without giving us a chance to defend ourselves." The room buzzed with angry voices. Monica waited for quiet and continued. "Dr. Clark has been working on our formal objection to the Council, but while we're writing legal papers, other people are taking more direct action." She pointed to a screen that showed images from around the world. In Russia, engineers were building new types of spaceships. In Japan, scientists worked on weapons that might penetrate alien shields. In America, the military was training for space combat. Commander Paul Jackson, a former astronaut with gray hair and steady hands, stood up. "I've been in space more than anyone else in this room. Let me tell you something about humans and barriers. We don't like them. The aliens think they can contain us like animals in a zoo," said another voice. Colonel Sarah Davis walked to the front of the room. She was young for a Marine colonel, but her eyes were hard as steel. "They're about to learn that humans don't stay contained." Dr. Ben Clark looked around the room at all the determined faces. "What are you planning?" "Operation Objection," Sarah said simply. "If they want to keep us locked up, they're going to have to work for it." Meanwhile, in a laboratory beneath the Colorado mountains, Dr. Alex Chen was working on something that might change everything. He had been studying the alien barrier stations for weeks, trying to understand how they worked. "The problem," he explained to his assistant, "is that their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. We can't fight them with better weapons or faster ships. So what can we do?" asked Dr. Kelly Wright, a pilot who had volunteered to test any crazy ideas Alex came up with. Alex smiled and pointed to his computer screen. "We can think differently. Look at this. Their barriers are designed to stop ships that move in straight lines through normal space. But what if we don't move in straight lines? What if we don't use normal space?" Kelly stared at the equations on the screen. "You want to fold space?" "Not exactly. I want to slip around it, like a fish swimming under a net instead of trying to break through it. Is that possible?" 6 months ago, I would have said no. But 6 months ago, I didn't know that aliens existed, or that they thought humans were too dangerous to be free. Kelly grinned. "When do we test it?" "As soon as Colonel Davis gives us the signal." Back in space, Captain Harrison was preparing for his own kind of test. He had gathered a small fleet of human ships, all volunteers who wanted to probe the alien defenses. They weren't planning to escape yet. They just wanted to see how the barriers worked. "Remember," Jake told his captains over the radio, "this is a scouting mission. We poke at their defenses, learn what we can, and get out alive. We're not trying to be heroes today." "Understood, Captain," came the reply from Kelly Miller, who commanded a fast scout ship. "But if one of their machines falls over when I bump into it, that's not my fault." Jake laughed, despite the tension. "Just try not to start a war, Kelly." 2. Late for that, Captain. They started it when they built their cage. The human ships moved slowly toward the nearest barrier station. As they got closer, the alien machine began to glow with warning lights. A voice spoke in perfect English. "Human vessels, you are approaching the containment boundary. Turn back immediately or defensive measures will be activated." Jake keyed his radio. "This is Captain Harrison of the Human Exploration Fleet. We demand to speak with Galactic Council representatives about the illegal imprisonment of our species. Containment is for your protection and the protection of galactic civilization. You will turn back now." "We object to this containment," Jake said firmly, "and we object to being treated like criminals. Final warning, turn back or be destroyed." Jake looked at his crew. They all nodded back at him with grim determination. "All ships," Jake said into his radio. "Let's show them what humans think of their cage." The small fleet of human ships accelerated toward the barrier station. The alien weapons began to charge with deadly light, but something unexpected happened. Instead of firing immediately, the barrier station hesitated. For just a moment, its weapons flickered as if it were confused. Tony Martinez whooped from the engine room. "Captain, their targeting system is having trouble with our flight patterns. I think their computers expect ships to fly like their ships do." "But we don't fly like anyone else," Jake said with a growing smile. "No, sir. We fly like humans. And humans don't follow anyone else's rules." The barrier station finally opened. Fire. But the human ships were already dancing between the energy beams in patterns that no alien computer had been programmed to predict. They swooped and rolled and dove like fighter planes in an atmosphere, even though they were in the emptiness of space. Most of the alien shots missed completely. A few came close enough to shake the human ships, but none scored direct hits. Jake's fleet learned what they needed to know. The alien barriers were powerful, but they had been designed to fight predictable enemies. Humans, as usual, were not predictable. "All ships, return to base," Jake ordered. "We've got work to do." As the human fleet retreated, alarms were sounding throughout the Galactic Council command ship. High Evaluator Quinn Tessara watched the tactical display with growing concern. "The humans attacked the containment system," reported Vex Morin. "They tested it," Quinn Tessara corrected, "and they learned something from the test." "Should we increase defensive measures?" The starlight being flickered with worry. "No. If we make the cage stronger, they will just try harder to break it. This species does not accept containment." "Then what do we do?" Quinn Tessara watched the human ships disappear toward Earth. "We prepare for what comes next because I fear we have made a terrible mistake. 6 months after the alien cage was built around Earth, humanity was ready to break out. Operation Objection had grown from a simple protest into the largest coordinated effort in human history. Every nation on Earth was working together for the first time ever. Captain Jake Harrison stood in the command center deep under the Colorado mountains. Around him, screens showed the positions of human ships spread throughout the solar system. Each group had a different plan for breaking through the alien barriers. "Status report," Jake called out. Colonel Sarah Davis pointed to the main screen. "Fleet Alpha is in position near Jupiter. Fleet Beta is ready at the Mars barrier. Fleet Gamma is holding near the asteroid belt." "What about Dr. Chen's experimental ship?" Sarah smiled. "Freedom's voice is ready for its test run. Alex thinks his space-folding engine might work." Jake nodded. For 6 months, humans had been building, planning, and preparing. The aliens thought their cage was unbreakable. They were about to learn that humans had different ideas about what was possible. "All fleets, this is Harrison," Jake spoke into his radio. "Today we show the galaxy that humans don't stay locked up. Good luck to everyone. Fleet Alpha, led by Captain Kelly Wright, approached the Jupiter barrier station first. Kelly was known for flying in ways that made other pilots dizzy. Her ship dove and rolled through space like a leaf in a hurricane. Remember, Kelly told her pilots, fly like humans, not like machines. These alien computers don't understand crazy. The barrier station detected the approaching ships and began its warning messages. Kelly ignored them and led her fleet in a spiraling attack pattern that looked more like a dance than a battle. The alien weapons opened fire, but Kelly's ships were already somewhere else. They twisted and spun through space using Earth's old fighter pilot tactics in the emptiness between planets. The alien computers tried to predict where the ships would be next, but humans don't think like computers. Danny, hit that power coupling. On the left side, Kelly called to her weapons officer. Danny Ross had spent months studying the barrier stations. He knew that human weapons were primitive compared to alien technology, but primitive didn't mean useless. Sometimes a simple solution worked better than a complicated one. His missiles weren't faster or more powerful than alien weapons, but they were cheap, and there were lots of them. Danny fired everything he had at the weak points he had identified in the station's design. The barrier station's shields absorbed most of the impact, but a few missiles got through. Sparks flew from damaged systems, and the station's weapons stopped firing for 30 seconds while it tried to repair itself. We heard it, Danny shouted. Not much, but we heard it. Kelly grinned and led her fleet in another attack run. Then let's hurt it some more. Meanwhile, near Mars, Fleet Beta was trying a different approach. Instead of attacking the barrier station directly, they were testing its limits. Commander Tim Foster led a group of fast ships in hit-and-run attacks on the station's sensor arrays. Tergico idea was simple. If they could blind the station temporarily, maybe other ships could slip through while it couldn't see them. It's working, Tim reported over the radio. Every time we hit their sensors, they have to shut down their weapons for a few seconds to recalibrate. But the aliens were learning too. The barrier stations began to adapt their targeting systems. They started firing in spread patterns instead of trying to hit specific ships. The space around the stations became filled with deadly energy beams. Fleet Gamma, positioned in the asteroid belt, had the most dangerous job. Led by Captain Lisa Murphy, they were trying to use the asteroids as cover to get close enough to plant explosive charges on a barrier station. These rocks have been hiding pirates and smugglers for centuries, Lisa told her team. Today they're hiding freedom fighters. Her ships darted between the floating chunks of rock and metal, staying out of sight of the alien sensors. It was incredibly dangerous flying, but humans had been taking crazy risks in space since the first moon landing. Engineer Carlos Rivera worked frantically to modify their explosive charges. Captain, I think I can overload their power core if we can get these bombs to the right place. Just tell me where to put them, Lisa replied, steering her ship around an asteroid the size of a city. The most ambitious part of Operation Objection was happening far from the battle. Dr. Alex Chen's experimental ship Freedom's voice was attempting something that most scientists said was impossible. Kelly, are you sure about this? Alex asked his pilot over the intercom. Dr. Kelly Wright checked her instruments one more time. Alex, nothing about this plan is sure, but that's never stopped humans before. The Freedom's voice looked different from other human ships. Alex had rebuilt it using theories that combined human physics with observations of alien technology. Instead of trying to punch through the barriers, he was attempting to go around them by bending space itself. Activating the fold drive, Alex announced. The ship began to vibrate in ways that made everyone's teeth hurt. Outside the windows, space started to look strange. Stars stretched into lines and colors appeared that had no names. It's working, Kelly shouted over the noise. We're moving, but not the way ships usually move. The Freedom's voice slipped sideways through space, following a path that existed between normal dimensions. For a few terrifying seconds, the crew couldn't tell if they were still in the same universe. Then the vibration stopped and space looked normal again. Kelly checked her navigation instruments and started laughing. Alex, you beautiful genius. We're outside the barrier. We're free. But their success came at a cost. The fold drive had burned out completely and the ship was barely holding together. They had proven that escape was possible, but only once per ship. Back at the barrier stations, the battles were intensifying. The aliens had called for reinforcements, and more ships were arriving to strengthen the containment system. But they were facing something they had never encountered before: humans who refused to give up. Captain Harrison coordinated the attacks from his command center. All fleets, the Freedom's voice made it through. We can do this. Fleet Alpha managed to damage the Jupiter station badly enough that its weapons stopped working for 10 minutes. 3 human ships escaped through the gap before the aliens repaired. The damage. Fleet Beta's hit-and-run tactics near Mars were causing chaos in the alien command systems. The barrier station was firing randomly, trying to hit ships that were no longer where its computers thought they should be. Fleet Gamma succeeded in planting Carlos Rivera's charges on their target station. The explosion didn't destroy the alien barrier, but it created a hole large enough for 2 ships to slip through before emergency systems sealed the breach. In total, Operation Objection allowed 7 human ships to break free of the containment system. It wasn't many compared to Earth's entire space fleet, but it was enough to prove the point. News of the breakout reached the Galactic Council within hours. High Evaluator Quinn Tessara faced an emergency session of the Council's ruling committee. The humans have violated containment, announced Vex Morin. Several of their ships have escaped into Council space. How is this possible? Demanded Zil Nath, the gas cloud alien. The barrier systems were designed to contain any known species. The humans are not any known species, Quinn Tessara replied quietly. They fight in ways our computers cannot predict. They take risks that no rational being would consider, and they refuse to accept that some barriers cannot be broken. Ikao, warlike Krexthani representative, slammed his clawed hand on the table. Then we must strengthen the containment system. More barriers, more weapons, more ships. No, Quinn Tessara said, her starlight form flickering with worry. If we make the cage stronger, they will just try harder to break it. These humans do not think like civilized beings. They think like what? Asked Vex Morin. Like creatures that have spent their entire evolutionary history fighting against impossible odds and winning. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They had not captured a dangerous species. They had challenged one, and humans had just proved that they were very good at meeting challenges. 3 weeks after Operation Objection, Dr. Ben Clark stood outside the massive doors of the Galactic Council chambers. Behind him walked Captain Jake Harrison, Professor Lisa Stone, and 6 other humans who represented the best of their species. They had traveled farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. The council chambers were built inside a space station the size of a moon. Thousands of different alien species worked and lived here, governing a galaxy that humanity had only just discovered. The humans walking through the corridors drew stares and whispers from creatures that looked like living crystals, floating gas clouds, and walking trees. Remember, Ben said quietly to his team, we're not here to beg for freedom. We're here to offer a partnership. Jake nodded and adjusted his uniform. Still feels strange being here as diplomats instead of prisoners. The doors opened and the humans entered the largest room any of them had ever seen. The council chamber stretched up so high that clouds formed near the ceiling. Thousands of alien representatives sat in sections organized by species, and at the center floated High Evaluator Quinn Tessara. The human delegation will approach. Her voice echoed in everyone's mind. Ben led his team to the center of the chamber. Around them, aliens whispered in hundreds of languages. Many had never seen humans before, and the translations of their conversations were not encouraging. Dangerous Deathworlders, said one voice. They broke our containment system, said another. Look how they stand. No fear at all. High Evaluator. Quinn Tessara's starlight form pulsed brighter. Dr. Clark of the human species, you have requested this hearing to object to your classification as a dangerous Deathworld civilization. The council will hear your words. Ben stepped forward and looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. High Evaluator, honored representatives of the Galactic Council, humanity thanks you for this opportunity to speak. We are here today not to deny that humans are different from other species in the galaxy. We are different. We come from a world that many of you would consider deadly. We are stronger and tougher than most other intelligent life. And yes, we refuse to be contained when we have done nothing wrong. A rumble of nervous sounds came from the alien representatives. Ben continued, but being different does not make us dangerous to peaceful civilizations. In fact, we believe our differences can be helpful to the galaxy. Vex Moran, the spider-like alien, spoke from his section. You claim to be helpful, yet you destroyed council property and violated containment protocols. Jake stepped up next to Ben. We tested your barriers because you imprisoned us without cause. Any species that values freedom would have done the same thing. Freedom is not more important than safety, declared the Krexthani representative, his clawed hands clicking together. Your species is too dangerous to be allowed free access to galactic civilization. Professor Lisa Stone moved forward. Honored representatives, may I tell you a story? The chamber grew quiet. Stories were important to many alien cultures. 6 months ago, Lisa began, while humanity was contained in our solar system, we received a distress signal from outside our barriers. A council colony ship carrying 30,000 civilian refugees was stranded near a black hole. The gravitational forces were tearing their ship apart. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. This was news to most of the council members. The council rescue ships could not approach close enough to help, Lisa continued. The radiation and gravity near the black hole would have killed any normal rescue team. She paused and looked around the chamber. But humans are not normal. Captain Lisa Murphy and Engineer Carlos Rivera volunteered to take a rescue ship into the danger zone. They used techniques and equipment that no other species could have survived. Ben picked up the story. They saved all 30,000 refugees, every single life, and they did it by using exactly the traits that you consider dangerous. Their toughness, their willingness to take impossible risks, their refusal to give up when the situation looked hopeless. The chamber erupted in surprised chatter. High Evaluator. Quintessera's form flickered rapidly. This rescue was performed without council authorization, she said. How did humans even know of this emergency? Jake smiled. Some of our ships that broke through your containment were monitoring council emergency frequencies. When we heard that people were in trouble, we helped. That's what humans do. Dr. Kate Morgan stepped forward with a tablet in her hands. Honored Council, we have a proposal for you. Speak, Quintessera said. Instead of containing humanity, we propose the Terran Emergency Response Compact. Humans will serve as the galaxy's emergency specialists. When disasters happen in places too dangerous for other species, send us. When rescues are needed in impossible conditions, we volunteer. When exploration is required in deadly environments, we go first. The spider-like Vex Moran leaned forward. You would voluntarily expose yourselves to mortal danger for other species? We've been doing it for 6 months already, Ben replied. The rescue near the black hole was just the beginning. Human ships have been quietly helping with emergencies throughout council space. Maria Santos, a former soldier turned peace activist, spoke up. Honored representatives, humans understand war better than most species. But we also understand that the strongest weapon against violence is helping others. Let us use our strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Greg Phillips, who had coordinated disaster relief efforts on Earth for 20 years, nodded. Every species has talents that benefit the galaxy. Some are great artists, some are brilliant scientists, some are wise philosophers. Humans are really good at surviving impossible situations and helping others do the same. The chamber fell silent as the council considered these words. Finally, High Evaluator Quintessera spoke. The human proposal is unprecedented. No species has ever requested to serve as emergency responders for the entire galaxy. No species has ever been classified as too dangerous to be free either, Jake pointed out. You say we're dangerous. We say we're useful. Let us prove it. For 3 hours, the council debated. Aliens argued in dozens of languages about risk, and benefit, safety and freedom, fear and hope. The humans waited patiently, knowing that their future and the future of their species hung in the balance. Finally, the voting began. Species after species cast their decision. Some voted for continued containment, afraid of the risks. Others voted for the human proposal, convinced by the rescue story and the offer of help. When the count was finished, High Evaluator Quinn Tessara announced the result. The Galactic Council accepts the Terran Emergency Response Compact by a margin of 7 votes. Humanity will be granted full membership in galactic civilization, with the responsibility of serving as emergency responders for dangerous situations. The chamber erupted in cheers from some species and worried murmurs from others. Ben Clark felt tears in his eyes as he realized that humanity was finally free. There is one condition, Quinn Tessara added. Human emergency response teams must include at least one non-human council member as an observer, to ensure that human methods remain within acceptable limits. Jake grinned. High Evaluator, we'd be honored to have alien partners. Just remember, to bring tough ones, we're probably going to places that most species consider impossible to survive. 6 months later, Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of a new ship designed jointly by humans and aliens. His crew included beings from 12 different species, all volunteers who wanted to work with the galaxy's newest emergency responders. Captain, called Lieutenant Kelly Wright from the pilot's seat, we're receiving a distress signal from the mining colony on Vulcan 7. Volcanic eruption has trapped 2,000 miners underground. Jake looked at his alien crew members. They looked nervous but determined. Vulcan 7 was the kind of planet that most species avoided completely. Well, team, Jake said with a smile, looks like it's time to show the galaxy what humans and their friends can do together. As their ship turned toward the dangerous planet, Jake reflected on how much things had changed. Humanity had gone from being prisoners to being partners, from being feared to being valued, all because they had refused to accept that some barriers could not be broken. The aliens had learned something important about humans, and humans had learned something important about themselves. Sometimes the things that make you different are exactly the things that make you valuable.